And it looks like we are live. Live? Are we? Hi, everyone. It says here that we are live on both Instagram and YouTube. So thank you to all those of you who are joining today. Hi, Leah. Hi, Nina. Hi, Monica. Hi, James. Hi, Luna. Hi, Andra. Hello, Bina. Hello, hello, hello. Let's give folks a few minutes to join, and then we can dive straight into what you are here for, to hear everything about the Cancer Solar Eclipse happening this weekend on the 21st of June, and Mercury Retrograde starting tomorrow. Hi, Georgie. Hi, Shanley. Hi, Jay. Hi, Bianca. Hi, Camelia. Hi, Ruth. Hi. Hi, Bresky. How is everyone doing? Let me know. How has this month been for you, apart from like very intense and quite tough? Hi, Leah. Hi, Kim. Hi, Jaylene. Am I pronouncing that right? Stevie, hi. Hi, Frenchie. You're probably gonna notice me kind of like switch my my site from my laptop to my phone, because I am operating on two different devices right now. And I've got to say, for me, Mercury retrograde has already hit today. There's something wrong with our camera, and I am live streaming from my phone and from my computer, not from the camera as I normally would be doing. Hi, Daniela. Hi, Ilaria. So we're already in the shadow period of Mercury retrograde. It's going retrograde fully tomorrow, but you might be feeling the impacts of it already. Hello, lovelies. Such a pleasure to have you here. Jailina, that's I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name. Oh, thank you. My earrings, once again. Most phone carriers in the US were not working on Monday. Mercury retrograde shadow period. That's what I'm talking about. Hi, Ren. Thank you for joining. Hi, Cleopatra. Hi, Phoebe. So we are smack bang in the middle of eclipse season. We've got a shit ton of planets in retrograde right now. Things are probably feeling very frustrating, very painful. It's tough, man. Hi, Cleopatra. It has been a moody month. That is exactly how I would describe it as well. And it's not done yet, but I've kept on telling people, have a little bit of faith, because things are gonna start picking back up at the Cancer eclipse that is happening this weekend. And it's happening at a very powerful time, right after the summer solstice. Well, summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere. Thank you, Bresky. Lots of soul searching during all the retrograde. I couldn't agree more, Jay. I have felt the same thing. Amanda, oh my gosh, you're celebrating your birthday, and it's happening at eclipse season. Nice. Okay, folks. Frenchie, I've got faith for Aquarians as well. I am with you here. Not a good time. I know, it's quite an intense time. So, let's start talking about what you are here for. The Cancer eclipse and Mercury retrograde. Let's start laying out the dates and dive into the meaning of everything that is unfolding right now in the world, and also some of the things that may be unfolding for you on a personal level. Now, Mercury is going retrograde as of tomorrow on the 18th of June at 14 degrees of Cancer, and it is going to be retrograde until the 12th of July at around 5 degrees of Cancer, and then it starts moving into direct motion again. Now, the Cancer eclipse is happening this weekend on the 21st of June on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm looking at it with UK time in mind. That's why I say the 21st of June, because depending on your time zone, it could happen a little bit earlier, but it doesn't matter where you are because everyone's going to start feeling the impact of the eclipse. Well, not like when I say everyone, I'm going to get into the detail of what I mean. The eclipse is a very, very powerful moment in time, and it's particularly powerful right now for all our destinies, I would say, because it is a solar eclipse. So it is symbolically a new beginning. It is conjunct with the north node of the moon. So our path forward, our karmic path forward. That's why it's something that is going to be felt, and you might start feeling it already 10 days before. So it's already impacting what's happening around us, and we're also going to feel its reverberations 10 days after. And eclipses, what they actually do and why they're so powerful is they set the scene. They set kind of like the theme, and they unfold over around 6 months periods. So if we look back 6 months, in January, I want to say that's when we had the Capricorn solar eclipse, and that's when we started learning about the coronavirus. There was kind of like news permeating from China. We would hear about it. It was like out there in the media. We heard about it, but it wasn't until a few months later that it full-blown hit everyone. And it first hit in Asia, then it started hitting in Europe, then it started hitting in the US. Now it's really kind of like ramming it in South America. So it did take over 6 months, around 6 months to unfold. What is starting out now at this eclipse is going to set the scene for the next 6 months from now on. So that's why it's very important that you look into your chart to see where exactly in your chart the eclipse is happening, what house it's happening in, what aspects it's making with your planets. And I've got to say this, I am going to pinpoint a few people who are going to be the most impacted by this eclipse. So this eclipse is happening at 0 degrees of Cancer. So the people who are going to be the most impacted are going to be the ones who have planets in the first degrees of cardinal signs. So if you've got any planets at between, I would say 0 to 8 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, you are really going to feel this eclipse unfolding in your life. Or if you have planets at the last degrees of mutable signs. So if you have planets between 22 to 29 of Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and I'm sure I missed someone, and Virgo. So if you have planets at the last degrees, so between 22 and 29 degrees of mutable signs, you will also most definitely feel the brunt of the eclipse. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the brunt, it could be the energy of the eclipse, but it depends. It also depends on what it's aspecting in your natal chart. How do you find out where it's happening in your chart? Jasmine is asking that on YouTube. You generate your natal chart online. There is like a shit ton of, pardon my French, there's a lot of online natal chart generators, such as astro.com, alabe.com/free chart, and you put in your date, time, and place of birth, and it generates your chart, which looks like a wheel, and you look into that wheel for the symbol of Cancer, and you check to see if you've got any planets at between 0 and 8 degrees of Cancer. If you rule those out, you look at planets between 0 and 8 degrees of Aries, Capricorn, or Libra. When you rule those out, you look at planets that you might have between 22 degrees and 29 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. You're welcome. Okay, so let's talk about the aspects that are being formed by the eclipse this weekend. It's forming an out-of-sign square with Mars in Pisces. And at the time of the eclipse, Venus is trining Saturn. So that's a lot to unpack. First and foremost, it sounds like at eclipse time, because it's happening in Cancer and because it is squaring Mars, our emotions, our feelings, what really, you could say, what triggers us is being rubbed the other way. So it's like the eclipse is putting salt on the wound of anything that is kind of like not okay with us, not we don't feel it. It's not in harmony with us. It makes us feel frustrated. It makes us feel uneasy. It makes us feel like it shouldn't be in our lives. And we are really gonna start feeling emotional about that, and it's gonna push our buttons really hard. So we might get really angry at eclipse time, and we could even get like, it's not just frustration, it could lead to a lot of tears, because Cancer is such a watery emotional sign that releases energy through outpouring their emotions out into the world. We've also got Mars in Pisces, I would say very weepy at the time, and it is squaring the eclipse. So there will be a release, most likely, of emotions and of frustration through tears at eclipse time. And a lot of people are like, oh no, oh shit, why? I don't want to cry. Why does the eclipse have to make me cry? It's okay to let it all out. Because the only way in which we can be reborn, and in which we can make peace with what's happening inside of us, and in which we can really kind of like say, you know what, it's out of me. I've taken it out. I've expressed my feelings. I've expressed my anger. I consider tears to be really healing. Probably because I am a Cancer rising. And my first kind of like reaction when something makes me angry is I start to cry without actually intending to. And my Capricorn moon inside of me is like, oh, you like moody bitch, why are you crying again? You know what? And I don't really necessarily like feel so much pain on the inside, but if something like makes me angry and I'm frustrated, it's like tears come streaming down. So, oh, Stephanie has been crying all morning. It's okay. Let it out. Let it all out. It's very healing. It's very soothing. Let the pain, let the frustration, let the anger, let all the emotions that you have been bottling up come out of you at eclipse time, because it's going to be as powerful as a resurrection. Once you take out the bad stuff and you let it flow out of you, that's when you can start building again. Because the solar eclipse is actually a new beginning. It's a new chapter. It's the universe pushing you in the right direction. And at this time, it's kind of like showing all of us, this is what you need to get out of your life. If it's making you cry, cry about it and take it out. Like, let it go. Move out of it. If it makes you cry, it's like toxic. You don't need to have it in your life. You don't need to put up with it anymore. You don't need to bottle up your feelings anymore. Please, 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 cry it all out, family. Again, that is the Cancer rising in me speaking. But I absolutely believe in the healing power of crying. And I know society is the patriarchy is like, oh no, men don't cry, etc., etc. But I think we're getting a lot better at that. And I think we're getting a lot better at acknowledging that everyone should acknowledge their feelings, and we should all feel our feelings. Otherwise, if we bottle them up, then we are going to get sick and ill on the inside. So emotions, unexpressed emotions, especially painful ones, tend to result in the body breaking down in some shape or form. You can get ulcer, or you get diabetes, or God knows what. And I'm giving some very kind of extreme examples, but I would say ulcer is probably one of the best. Ulcer, gastritis, anything that has to do with the digestive system, that's ruled by Cancer. And if we hold our emotions in, then our digestive system pushes back, reacts, and it's you know what? I have to get all this negative energy out of me somehow, and there you go. So don't go there, folks. The interesting thing is that at the time of the eclipse, Venus is trining Saturn, which I really like. Venus is still in retrograde in Gemini, and it is trining Saturn in Aquarius. Also on its way back into Capricorn at the beginning of next month. The beautiful thing about Venus trining Aquarius and the beautiful interaction between Gemini and Aquarius at this time is we are talking to people about what we are feeling. We cannot hold inside ourselves what we are no longer okay with. We can't bottle it up anymore, and we feel this need to verbalize it. And if we verbalize it, that's when we get a tighter grip on it. If we can verbalize a feeling, if we can get it out into the open, if we find the courage inside ourselves to put it out there, and if we find the courage to be vulnerable in front of someone else, because Venus governs relationships, and Venus in Gemini is communication in relationships, we can make a long-term change, and it can also help us see things differently. Saturn in Aquarius means that we're very likely going to make long-term changes based on the enlightening thoughts that we have at the time of the eclipse. Whatever you feel, get it out of you, cry it out, talk about it to other people. People are here to listen to you. They will listen, and they will understand you, and they might even give you a new perspective on things, a perspective that you haven't thought about, an insight that didn't come to you naturally, and that is now coming to you through the power of relations, through the power of communication. And as I said, speaking about a feeling is such a powerful act. It's the act of, I'm not holding it in anymore. It doesn't have power over me anymore. Now, there's a few more things that I want to mention to you. So, Mercury, although it's going in retrograde tomorrow, Mercury is in a sextile aspect, which is an aspect of collaboration for most of the month, starting with the eclipse on the 21st till around the 26th of July. And Mercury is in a sextile with Uranus. Mercury is going to be in Cancer. Uranus is going to be in Taurus for a very long time, obviously. We will be talking about old issues. We will be talking about old problems. We will be talking about problems that have been weighing on our soul for a very, very long time. And finally, we are bringing them out into the open. And the fact that we see this beautiful communication between Mercury, which is communication, thoughts, the people, and Uranus, which has to do with progress, which has to do with innovation, which has to do with revolution, not necessarily in an aggressive sense of the word, not necessarily in we have to throw things upside down. No, in a sense that we have to come up with new solutions for old problems. And that is the challenge, and that is also the answer. The answer to what we are feeling right now and what is happening in the world and the themes that are going to come to the fore at eclipse time and that are already kind of like coming to the fore, the answer is to shift resources. The answer is to redistribute resources. The answer is to think creatively about how money and power and resources are distributed to the people. That is the answer. Now, I also want to give you like a quick overview of how the eclipse is likely to impact you depending on your sun sign or your rising sign. And I do recommend that you focus first and foremost on your rising sign, because that's the sign that we use when looking at personal transits in your chart. So if you are an Aries sun or an Aries rising, the eclipse is bringing for you most likely a new beginning, a new chapter in your family and home life. The eclipse is being squared by Mars, which is the ruler of your house of personality, of the physical body, of how you approach the world, of how the world sees you. So there may be some developments in your family life that require you to shift your identity, that require you to take action very swiftly, or that require you to take action in a way that you wouldn't do it before. And it can feel challenging. It's like, oh, why am I dealing with all the pressure right now? What is going on? But a very important thing to keep in mind at eclipse time, it's good to go, and it's easy, it's smooth to go with the flow. What I recommend is not resisting whatever the flow is bringing in your life. I do recommend kind of like moving in the direction of this new beginning rather than holding yourself back or like staying attached to the way things were. Now, for Taurians, for Taurus suns and Taurus risings out there, the solar eclipse is happening in your third house. The third house is the house of communication and siblings and transport and learning. And it is squared by Mars, the ruler of your 12th house. So it feels like you're going to have to deal with a new way of communicating with people. You are going to have to possibly reevaluate the way you interact with others. You might have to reevaluate your communication style. You might realize that you've got a lot more to learn in order to progress in your life. And intrinsically, you might be afraid of it because it's kind of like pushing you out of the status quo, pushing you out of the way things are. But it's important that you embrace the change. That's what I want to say, my dear Taurians. Gemini, the eclipse is happening in your house of money and self-worth and values. And it is being squared by Mars, the ruler of your 11th house. So I would say, this is a time to lay out new plans for the future, lay out new objectives, Geminis. Reconsider your vision for the future and be a little bit more creative about how you use your resources. Be a little bit more creative about your finances and your budget. Maybe you need to reevaluate an objective for the future based on your current financial situation. Creativity is the way. You are being prompted to find solutions. This is no time to kind of like rest on your laurels. If you are a Cancerian sun or Cancer rising like me, the eclipse is happening in your house of self and identity and how you appear into the world. And it looks like you are becoming a new you and you are forging this new identity that is probably at odds with the career expectations that the world has from you, or with your current status and reputation in the world. So it will be a challenge. You might be challenged, Cancerians, with who you want to become from now on. And authorities and like higher ups and bosses and the rest of the world might be like, no, but why do you want to be this? Like, why do you want to be like this? Like, why? What's the point of this? So you're going to have to fight back and you're going to have to stand by the decision to be whoever it is that you want to be. And you might feel personally attacked and you might be very defensive. You might be like, I do not need to explain myself to other people. It's good. Feel the pushback, feel all the feelings and become whoever you want to become anyway, Cancerians. Now, if you are a Leo sun or a Leo rising, lovelies, we've got an eclipse happening for you in your 12th house, which is squared by Mars, the ruler of your 9th house. I've got to say this, Leos, it looks like there is a part of you that you have to let go. There is like an ending that you have to embrace and that you might not want to embrace. And you might have to face some parts of yourself that you've been trying to like hide from yourself, that you've been trying to hide from the world, and that might require you spending time on your own. That might require you stepping away from the world, and it's not pretty because you like to be surrounded by people, but at the same time, if you do not deal with these issues now, then they're going to come to bite you off the ass. So deal with them now, Leos. If you are a Virgo sun or a Virgo rising, the eclipse is happening in your 11th house of long-term plans and dreams and friendships. And the 11th house, by some astrologers, is also associated with our income. So I've got to say, Virgo, it looks like you are entering a new phase in your life where you are forging new plans for the future, where you are redefining what your future looks like. And when you are redefining, also probably the groups and the mentalities and the people that you want to align yourself with. And it's not pretty because it's challenging some of the things that you stood by. It's challenging some parts of your psyche that you were very attached to, be them like positive or like less so. If you are a Libra sun or a Libra rising, the eclipse is happening in your 10th house of career, people, and it's squared by Mars, the ruler of your 7th house. My dear Libras, this has got new career chapter written all over it. If it's not a new career chapter, then it is certainly a new status, a new position in the world. Some of you might get divorced, some of you might get married, some of you might become parents, but it's like a whole new era in your public kind of like status and reputation, Libras. And I've got to say, you probably feel a little bit fidgety. You probably feel like you do not have a lot of support from others. You might feel like your partner is not necessarily there for you or as supportive as you'd want them to be. And still, you got to embrace the new role. That's what this is about. My lovely Scorpions. Scorpios, not scorpions. Scorpios and scorpions. The eclipse this weekend is happening in your 9th house, which is squared by Mars, the ruler of your 6th house of day-to-day work. It looks like you are entering a new chapter in your life that has to do with raising and elevating your views of the world. And you might look at the world differently in the next 6 months. Your belief system is evolving. The things you know, your overall knowledge and your overall outlook when it comes to the outside world is changing. It's shifting. And it seems to have something to do with the changes that you are making in your day-to-day habits and possibly in your work life as well. You might be like admonished by the outside world for the things that you used to believe in and for the way you used to see the world. And it's okay to evolve the way you are now seeing the world. It's okay to acknowledge that actually what's happening out into the world is not what you thought would be happening. And you don't have to feel bad about it, Scorpio. Now, Sagittarians, if you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, the eclipse is happening in your 8th house and it's squared by Mars, the ruler of your 5th house, which is currently in your 4th house of home and family. My dear Sagittarians, do you have debts to pay? Debts to others, debts to yourself? Have you been avoiding some painful truths? Have you been kind of like skipping them and trying to get on with your life? It looks like there is like a big psychological crisis that you might have to deal with. And it also seems to be very much linked with your home and your family. So there seems to be like a transformation unfolding in your psyche right now and in the way you relate to your family. Now, if you are a Capricorn, Sun, or Rising, dear Capricorns, your partner, if you are single, if you have been looking for love, if you have been looking for a long-term partner, then I've got to say, this is it. This is the new chapter that you've been waiting for. This is the new beginning that you have been waiting for in this sector. And some of you might decide to get married. Some of you might decide to divorce. Whatever is unfolding, it's a new era when it comes to partnerships in your life. And you can feel very emotional about it, Capricorns. Edward, thank you for the super chat. For those of you who are watching me on YouTube, don't forget that you can super chat me. There is like a dollar sign at the bottom of the chat, and that's how you can show your appreciation for what I'm doing. Jay, thank you so much for the super chat. If you are an Aquarius Sun or Rising, Aquarius Sun here, by this time you probably know, peeps. So the eclipse is happening in your 6th house of day-to-day work and health, and it is squaring Mars, the ruler of your 3rd house. So I've got to say, Aquarians, there might be some jarring news coming your way in the next weeks, and also affecting like the next 6 months for you when it comes to your day job. Or you might decide to be the one initiating the whole like jarring news. You might decide to quit. You might decide that, I don't know, enough is enough. It's not fulfilling you anymore, and it's time to part ways. And you might feel conflicted about it, but hell, if that's what you're feeling, it's important to do that. I want to say this, peeps, to all those of you who are watching. This is a very crucial time to listen to our intuition, to listen to our gut instinct, to listen to our feelings, because that is all ruled by Cancer. To listen to what makes us feel safe, nurtured, secure, looked after, and to act in accordance to that. If there is like a screaming child inside of you that has been hurt, people, listen to that kid. What is your inner child telling you to do, and act upon it. Thank you, Cleopatra, for the super chat. Lovely Leo and Capricorn. Tara, I'm so sorry. You were just informed that you might be laid off. I know it can be painful, and at eclipse time, we usually get these kind of like jarring news. It's kind of like out of nowhere. It's like very surprising. It's unexpected. We don't know what to do with it. We hadn't planned for it, and still we have to deal with it. But eclipses are the universe's way of pushing us in the right direction, people. Last but not least, my lovely Pisceans, if you are a Pisces sun or a Pisces rising, the eclipse is happening in your 5th house of true love and creativity and children. And it is squared by Mars, the ruler of your 2nd house. So you might feel compelled to really dedicate yourself to a project, to a creative project, to an artistic project, to something that brings you joy, something that makes you feel alive, and something that you do for the pure pleasure of it. You might feel compelled to dedicate more time to it, to act in the direction of making it like part of your day-to-day, and giving it more of your time and resources. I also have to say, Pisces risings and Pisces sun, this is also a time when like a very fated a romantic partner might appear into your life. And because we're going to have Mercury Retrograde at the time, it could be someone who you've met before. It could be someone who you've been like friends with, colleagues with, all of that, and they're coming into your life, and you realize, actually, this person is making me feel things. What do I do with it? Last but not least, Pisceans, you might realize at this time that you deserve to be happy, and life is not all about sacrifices and like placing others like on kind of like top row in terms of priorities. My dear Madeline, thank you for the super chat. Aries with Sagittarius rising. Is the new beginning related to an expansion of the family? Yes, it can very well be. It could be the expansion of the family. It's usually at solar eclipses. Someone new comes into the picture. At lunar eclipses, a person might go out of the picture. So I hope that answers your question. Stevie, thank you for the super chat. This whole year has been a roller coaster. Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that what I do is helping you guys and is ultimately bringing like an additional insight into the energies unfolding around us. I know what we're going through right now is very painful. I know like change is painful. We don't like it. No one likes it. But it's just something that we have to learn to roll with. With the North Node in Gemini, it's something that we need to like learn to become more flexible, to become more adaptable, to go with the flow, to not be so attached to our own ways, to listen to others, and not feel bad about anything really, not feel bad about having been wrong before, not feel bad about not knowing something, but being open and taking it all in. Daisy, thank you so much for the super chat. Now, let's talk a little bit about Mercury retrograde. And by the way, people, Mercury is going retrograde in Cancer, so it is going to be impacting the same areas of your life that I have mentioned for the eclipse. That's why this is like a very interesting time, because on the one hand, you've got the solar eclipse, which is like a new chapter, a new beginning. And on the other hand, we've got Mercury going retrograde, and retrogrades bring themes that have been in our life before, things that we have thought about before, things that have crossed our mind, people that have crossed our mind. And now it's like the past is like merging and is setting the theme, is merging with the eclipse and is setting the theme for the next 6 months. That's why it's like, it's almost like a coming home. I would say it's a coming home. Cancer is home. What makes you feel like home? Who makes you feel like home? What feels right in your life and what doesn't feel right in your life and what is not fulfilling you anymore? I urge you all to think about all of these things. James, of course, the North Node is making you feel fatigued, crazy dreams. You are transforming who you are, effectively. That's what's happening. Candice, your Aries sun is in the 5th house, Scorpio rising in the 12th. What type of change is coming? So I would look at the Scorpio rising first and foremost, Candice. The eclipse is happening in your 9th house. The 9th house is how you see the world. It's what you believe in. It's what brings you faith. It's how you choose to live your life. It's kind of like your belief system and your pillars and your sense of like moral and what you consider to be right or wrong. And that seems to be going through like a huge change, Candice. Now, in terms of Mercury retrograde, we've got this happening between the 18th of June and the 12th of July. So, people, this is going retrograde in Cancer, as I said, like the eclipse, for the next month. At least until Mercury goes out of retrograde. We're going to be talking about feelings over and over and over again. Mercury is communication. Cancer is feelings. We are also going to be talking and thinking a lot about our own home, our safety, our security, our family, our roots, our ancestors, our history. And pain will come to the surface in regards to all of these things. We will vent our frustrations, and we will demand that they be listened to. I want to say this: compassion and a will to progress and the will to do things differently, the willpower to do things differently are the answer. There's going to be a lot of anger floating around, people, in the next few weeks, and there's going to be a lot of anger that we will have to deal with till January, I would say. But we're gonna feel like very, very emotional about our anger in the next few weeks. Andra, thank you for the super chat. You're a Taurian with a Leo ascendant. Your natal Mars is in Cancer at 4 degrees, and Mars happens to be in your 12th house in between the eclipse and Mars retrograde. No, you should not crap your pants. Not at all. Oh, looks like we have a visitor. Okay, Andra. So first and foremost, I want to say this. As a Leo rising, the eclipse is happening in your 12th house, and it is already squaring Mars in transit. What is it that you don't want to face in your life? What is kind of like your biggest fear? Is it your anger? Is it you really asserting and you really coming forward to the world with what you want? What your ego is telling you to do, what path you want to take, and is that something that you have been trying to like keep inside of you? Is your like frustration and like sense of self-assertion and possibly even anger, and kind of like what drives you? Have you been trying to like quash those? Have you been staying silent? If you have, then it looks like there might be a little bit of an explosion happening, and you might vent and you might like bring to the surface all those bottled up like frustrating feelings. And I've got to say, it's okay. I mean, if you don't bring them to the surface and if you don't talk them out with the people who have caused you to feel this way, it could be that you might have very kind of like vivid dreams and dreams of like fights and dreams that feel very scary, very aggressive in nature. So I do urge you to bring these things into the conscious mind rather than letting them fester in the subconscious. Does Mercury retrograde affect people with a natal Mercury retrograde differently? Ren, very, very good question. So I would say you guys are a lot more used to Mercury retrograde as an energy. And from my experience, I've seen people with Mercury retrograde kind of like pushing through and making like big kind of like steps forward in like all their communications, in their relationships and their connections when Mercury is in retrograde. So unexpectedly, it's like, now's my time to like bring all of this up. Now is my time to talk to people. Now is my time to connect with who I wanted to connect. So yes, I would definitely say that you are a lot more used to this energy, and it's not going to feel as jarring to you as it would feel to everyone else. Sarah, thank you for the super chat. Oh, this means so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot tell you guys enough how important it is for me that I know you find these useful and helpful, and you appreciate them, and your words mean so much. Candace, I would absolutely say that this eclipse might be trying to tell you to put yourself first, and it might be telling you that it's time to take a really deep, good look at your place in society as well. Also, I know it's like it's a very painful time, and you're probably gonna have to face like some of your own kind of like, I wouldn't call them like wrong beliefs, but beliefs that haven't really played out that well in your relationships with others. Georgie, thank you for the super chat. Taurus Sun, Gemini Rising, Aries Venus at 1 degree, and Sagittarius Mars at 27 degrees in the natal chart. You have your exams on the 22nd, 24th, and the 25th. Oh, this is like a fabulous, like this is a very important time in in your life, Georgie. So first of all, best of luck. Now let's dive into what's happening in your chart. So first and foremost, as Gemini rising, the eclipse is happening in your second house. And although it is squared by Mars, the ruler of your 11th house of long-term plans and dreams, so you might be feeling very stressed about what you do at the exams and how this is going to affect your future. And it is directly affecting your future, because it's linked with the ruler of your future. But I do want to say this, as a Gemini rising, you've got Venus in your corner, and Venus is in a beautiful aspect with Saturn in Aquarius at the time of the eclipse, and throughout the rest of the the next few days until the 25th. You can probably focus your thoughts very well, and everything that you've learned and all the knowledge that you've acquired over time, because Saturn is father time and Aquarius is technical knowledge. It's science. I would say you can very much channel into that, and you're probably going to be able to remember things that you might have thought that you forgot them. But you have Venus retrograde and Saturn retrograde on your side. So you're going to be able to remember things that were not at the forefront of your mind. I couldn't agree more, Frenchie. There is a huge shift coming. And for Aquarius risings, that shift seems to be happening in your house of day-to-day work. Do you want to change your job? Have you applied for a new job? Are you expecting any changes at work? Because there might be significant changes at work, especially with Mars, the ruler of your third house. The third house is also associated with news. So there can be really kind of life-changing news for you, Frenchie, at work. CM, you're releasing new music on this retrograde, and it doesn't really depend on you. Can it go well? Pisces Sun, Cancer Rising, Virgo Moon. Yes, it can go very well. It can go very well. The reason why I say that is because, let me actually put up my chart. We've got Neptune, which is the ruler of music, in a beautiful sextile collaboration aspect with the stellium between Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter. So you're going to be very stressed about it. There might be some, I would say, Sam, that there might be some naysayers, and there might be some trolls, and there could be people who don't get what you're doing. But on the other hand, it's probably going to appeal to way more people than you thought. Phoebe, thank you for the super chat. Leo Sun in the third, Gemini rising. Past few days have been very frustrating. Missed a job opportunity, and graduate school is not fun anymore. Phoebe, I've got to say, if you've missed anything around this time, it was definitely not meant for you. So absolutely do not stress out about that, and keep on putting yourself out there. Keep on searching, keep it going, keep the grind on, Phoebe. Graduate school is not fun, I've got to say. So as a Gemini rising, I totally get I totally get the stress, and I totally get the stress associated with your career, in particular. But saying that, I also want to point out that you are going through some very intense emotional transformations and psychological transformations, Phoebe, and you are becoming stronger. You are becoming more resilient. And very likely, the next time you go to an interview, or the next time you are in the position to get a new job, you're gonna deal with it with a lot more maturity. MJ, thank you for the super chat. Oh, Leo Sun and Venus in the 7th house with Capricorn rising. Love and career growth. Any advice? It's coming your way, MJ. So with the eclipse happening in your seventh house of long-term partnership and marriage, I gotta tell you, it is very likely that at this time, if you don't meet someone, I would urge you to kind of like keep your eyes peeled for people who you know and who might not necessarily seem like the best or like the ideal type of partner, but keep an open mind around discovering these people who have the potential to become your long-term partner. And I do have to say, by the end of the year, it is very likely that someone with like the long-term partner potential is going to arrive into your life. Career growth. I've got to say, this year is a lot about you learning to relate better to others and learning to give and take and learning to find a balance in relationships and in your interactions. And that goes for business partners as well, MJ. R, thank you for the super chat. Cancer at 0 degrees, 10th house with a Mercury at 5 degrees. 5 degrees of what? So I'm imagining, I'm not really sure about, so is your 10th house governed by, so is your 10th house cusp on Cancer at 0 degrees? If that's the case, then the eclipse is happening smack bang on your midheaven, and you could very well say that this is like you getting out of your cocoon and you stepping into a whole new stage career-wise, which can feel jarring. It can feel like something that you're not ready for. It could also feel like you don't have a lot of support from other people. And nevertheless, you have to persist. You have to get over the imposter syndrome and go out there. Mercury in Cancer as well. Oh, brilliant. So, I've got to say, R, if you have thought of advancing your career in some shape or form, if you had made any specific connections who can help you in your career, it's very, very possible that now is the time when like the universe is going to bring everything together and is going to give you a push into evolving in your career. And probably the people who you have connected with previously have a big say in it. Maybe you're going to be referred to a job. Maybe you're going to hear of an opportunity from someone in your life, and it's not something that you were expecting in any shape or form. You're welcome, Frenchie. Pisces Sun, Libra Rising, Capricorn Moon, Diana. Yes. As a Libra Rising, this is it. This is it, Dana. This is the time when I urge you to like pay attention to what's happening this week and next week, and the whole month, really. What you're hearing, what you're feeling in regards to your career, and really taking it from there. I also urge you to like apply to jobs, and the opportunity will probably arise. This is your new career chapter that you might have been waiting for. You're most welcome, people. It's been my pleasure. Now, I also want to say a few more things before we go away. Mars is going to be square the sun, which in mundane astrology is representative of the head of state. So it is very possible that for the rest of June, the whole world, people in general, are going to feel a lot of frustration with the way governments and authorities and heads of state are handling what we feel so strongly about and the crises that we are going through. However, on the 26th of June, we have a very, very beautiful aspect pattern in the sky happening between, it's a grand trine. It's a minor grand trine, actually. Happening between the moon, which governs in mundane astrology public opinion, and the people, and the moon is going to be in Virgo. Mercury is going to be in Cancer, and Uranus is going to be in Taurus. So it looks like public opinion is becoming friendlier. You can hear my cat jumping up and down here. There might be a shift in public opinion around the measures that are being taken to get us out of this crisis, to get us out of this like intense transformational time, or not necessarily get us out of it, like really solve it. Mercury retrograde, and then not retrograde anymore, is going to be square Mars for most of July. So it might be very tempting for people to resort to anger and aggressiveness to fight for their cause and to defend their corner. But I absolutely urge you to resist. And I'm probably like talking to the wrong people here. I urge you to resist the urge to kind of like jump at someone else's throat and like be very kind of like aggressive in your response. Compassion is the way. Compassion and really putting ourselves in the other person's shoes. Mercury is also in a sextile for most of the month with Uranus. So we have to look at things differently. We have to consider alternative opinions. We have to consider alternative solutions. And we have to do things that we haven't done before, because that's what progress is about. And last but not least, on the 30th of June, we've got the second exact conjunction this year between Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. Sextiling Mars, which is going to be in Aries, the Sun, which is going to be in Cancer, and the Sun is going to be conjunct Mercury, trine Uranus. This is a day of like huge social change, people. This is a day when faith and power and revolution and the people and heads of state, they all come together, and there's like two possibilities. Either all hell will break loose, or we are going to make a huge leap forward in terms of social justice, in terms of equality, in terms of like governmental policies, in terms of power and how it is distributed to people, in terms of resources. So keep your eyes peeled for the 30th of June. Andre, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you everyone for joining. It's been a pleasure to talk about these things. I know it's a very intense time, and I am sending you the best of vibes. I do believe in the power of energy, and thoughts can move energy, and the more we collectively as a species put our thoughts to good use and put our energy to good use and put our energy towards evolution. And evolution is triggered by anger. It is triggered by frustration. It is triggered by disappointment. But focusing on the way forward rather than staying entrenched in the past. Yes, we have to learn from the past. But the important thing is, what are we going to do in the future? Stanley, thank you for the super chat. What do I think about Mars, Pluto, and Saturn in Scorpio in the 4th house, along with the Sun, Moon, and Mercury in Pisces in the 8th house? Okay, so by the sounds of it, you are Leo rising, Stanley. So by the sounds of it, the eclipse is going to be happening in your 12th house. There's something of a closure. There's something of letting go of our fears. There's something of letting go of our deep subconscious traumas, I would say. Sun, Moon, Mercury, and Pisces in the 8th house. Now you've also got Neptune there. This is a fabulous time to learn about yourself. This is a fabulous time to examine your psyche. This is a fabulous time to evolve by making friends and making peace with your inner demons, Stanley. It's a time of reflection, and it is a time of intense transformation. It looks like I'm going off the live on Instagram. Thank you for joining, people. How deep in natal charts do I go? Candace, a good question. So what I do in a natal chart reading is I examine the major archetypal themes that people have to deal with. I examine the lessons, the challenges, the obstacles that we have to deal with in this lifetime, but also what help do we get in dealing with them and in evolving. So what are our skills, our potential? How are all of these things gonna most likely to manifest in the day-to-day life, in our relationships, in our home, in our childhood, in our place in the world? What is gonna be our legacy in this world? So that's about it. Thank you once again, peeps, for joining on both YouTube and Instagram. Please feel free to follow me on all channels. I am on Facebook and Instagram, and I've also got a Facebook group where you can chat with like-minded people and you can ask me things, and we can like start building up on our on everyone's astrological knowledge. And if you are interested in a yearly forecast for yourself, I also offer personalized yearly forecasts based on your natal chart. They are the most accurate type of forecast moving forward because we are looking specifically at what is happening in your chart and how that's aspecting the transiting planets in the sky. What stage are you at in your life? What you can expect? How are you going to feel about it? How can you better prepare for what's coming your way? Feel free to contact me on my website, which I have left in the description box for the video. If I haven't, if I forgot, it's written in the stars-astrology.com. See you next week, peeps. Bye.